everyone, and welcome to another VSM Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Krakowski, joined as always by Goran Vasovic.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? What's up, Daniel?
Good to see you. And today we have a special guest, kind of a
very special
a pioneer of sorts in the Minneapolis market for sure.
Yep.
We have Joe Grunnet from DRG.
Thank you guys for being here. Looking forward to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. I know Daniel's a little bit sick, so thank you for pushing through. I know a lot of our listeners want to hear all of the information that Joe has for us, since he's the king of the condo and real estate market downtown Minneapolis. So thank you for stopping by our studio and crossing the river here in St. Paul.
I should come over here more often with all these great compliments. So.
Hey, that's what we try to do. So take it away, Daniel.
Yeah, so can you just give us a little bit of backstory about who you are, what DRG is, what you guys are looking to do?
Yeah, let me start with just my story. And I've been in the business now close to 15 years. And when I moved up here from south of Chicago, I didn't know anybody. So at that time, I got into the health club business, and I'll make this long story short, and met a lot of great people. And through that connection, actually got into the lending business. So back in the day when you could breathe and get a loan, I was that guy behind just, you could breathe and get a loan. So
I got one of those breathing loans back in 07. I fogged a mirror. They're like, approved.
Yeah, we won't. That's another segment. We'll talk about that. But through that lending experience, I got my real estate license. Okay. And at that time, I think there was about 15,000 residential realtors in the Twin Cities market, and I just knew I needed to stand out. Yeah. And from a differentiating standpoint, whether you're in real estate or you're, whatever you're doing, there's obviously that differentiation piece that's very important. So my wife and I just moved to the North Loop at that time, and growing up in the urban kind of Chicago market, I gravitated to that, and just thought that was a great way to stand out. Yeah. So long story short, again, hired a company out of California, come up with a brand, and it was Your Downtown Resource. That was me. Yep. And I was actually with a small boutique real estate company called Minnetonka Realty. Okay. And through that career path, we moved downtown. Next to the funny story is, I used to always tell people when they'd want to come, visit us, see homes, they're like, where's your office? And I used to always say between Runyon's and Cafe Havana. And people are like, where the hell is that at? Then I would say between Runyon's and Sex World, and they go, oh, I know exactly where that is. So that was our first office down there in the North Loop area. Moved once I left Minnetonka Realty, and for a lot of different reasons, started the own brokerage, and we moved down to 700 Washington. So that's really kind of the evolution from Minnetonka Realty, or actually from the lending world to Minnetonka Realty to then DRG. So started as an agent, started a group, and then turned that group into a company. A lot of it was surrounded around kind of the market and the way it was going at that time, when you could breathe and get a loan, and a lot of people were buying on speculation, and all of a sudden the market took a big dive. That's when I looked at my model and needed to be different. So I started a leasing division. So I continued to focus with buyers and sellers. I had a few agents that worked with people that wanted to rent or rent out their home. And then really from that model, we formed DRG as a whole.
Okay. So this is, the post-peak of the market in like 2006 is when that started happening?
Yeah, I feel blessed that I didn't really experience on the real estate side where you could kind of breathe and get a loan and that kind of easy real estate. If real estate is ever easy, I've never experienced that part of the real estate kind of cycle. I got into the real estate as it was kind of going down, and really had to search and network and surround myself with really good people to really find that right model. But at the end of the day, it really comes back to our focus, and that's urban residential Minneapolis real estate. So coming over here in St. Paul is quite a treat. Yeah,
no, we're very happy to have you for sure.
Thank you.
So you're in a position where you're a loan officer at first,
yep.
And then you decide to make the complete change and go into residential real estate and brokering that. And then around what time was that? Year what?
Call it 2000, kind of 5-ish, probably 6-ish.
So you were right there.
Yeah.
So when you made the transition, were you transitioning out of the lending side due to some issues or some things that might be scary or daunting about what the future is going to be for that specific profession too?
Really, it came down to, and I'll back up a little bit. So when I was in the lending environment, our manager came in and said, "Who wants to make twice as much money?" And we young, entrepreneurs, so to speak, raised our hand and said, "Hell yeah, we want to make twice as much money."
Yep.
They said, "Well, go out and get your real estate license." So at that time, his model was, if you're going to pre-approve somebody to, get a loan to buy a home, why not go show them some homes as well too?
Yeah.
Which you think makes sense, but at the end of the day, that's where I learned again about focus.
Right.
Yes, you can be everything to everybody, but at the end of the day, are you really good at all of those?
Right.
And yeah, exactly. So I just found, I wanted just to pick an area and be the best at that.
Right.
And that's really where I decided, speaking with my wife and kind of the family, just my direction was the real estate side.
Right on. So you came into it at a time though when everything was chaos and there were 2005, 2006. From what I've seen is there was a huge influx of real estate agents in the market. So the supply has gone way up, and now at the same time the economy is going the wrong direction.
Sure.
As far as a lot of residential transactions are concerned. So was this need to focus predicated on the fact that there were some market conditions at work here that you needed to get out ahead of? Like, did you see that at all coming a little bit and then adjust your strategy based on that, or would you have taken that path no matter what?
Hindsight is always 20/20, and looking back, I was definitely strategic.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of things just happened, and it happened from surrounding myself with the right people and taking a look at a specific industry and going, I like what they're doing there. How can I grab that piece and make it mine in my little real estate world? So I would say I just took advantage when everybody else was running this way to get out of real estate or making excuses. I ran harder toward it. And that's what I've learned in real estate in general. You guys can probably speak to this, is when there's like say blood. What are they? What's the?
There's blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned in my industry, the buildings that had squatters, the management company is about ready to walk out. The building went to foreclosure or has mega assessments.
Right.
Those are the ones that you want to keep an eye on.
Right.
So through that kind of mindset, at that time when I was just an agent and just starting a group, what I wanted to do, all these other agents were selling these projects. At that time, Minneapolis was in such a need for condo projects. Mm-hmm. That was the big boom. But what these agents were doing was they were just sitting at these projects.
Right.
So they were capitalizing on the short-term revenue stream from selling these units, but what they forgot was that's eventually going to sell out.
Right.
And if you're not working your farm, you're not working your database and planting those seeds for the future,
right,
all of a sudden your business is going to come to a halt. Right. So I took a step back and just saw the vision of building that farm, building that foundation,
mm-hmm,
and then when those developers saw their agents really not putting forth the energy,
right,
then the developers saw what I was putting out there from a focus perspective, from just something different. Then I started, we were always called kind of the cleanup crew. When they had their last 20 or 30 or 10 units,
yeah,
we came in and sold about 17 of those projects out. So it was a good time, but learned a lot of things, messed up on some things, but overall we did more things good than bad.
It sounds like you had a very in-depth, complete strategy from the beginning. And I know you mentioned that you worked with another group out of Chicago that helped you with some of your branding. Yeah,
that was actually out of California. But really, the brokerage that I was at before, I learned a lot from that company, and I won't name specific names, mm-hmm, but I also learned what not to do. To me, that was the blueprint of what not to do in the brokerage world. Yeah. I mean, they don't call you a broker for nothing. Most go broke. Right. So I knew, number one, that I still had to produce.
Right.
So for the last 10 or so years, I still ran around buyers and worked with sellers because that was kind of the bread and butter. I never lost sight of that.
Yeah.
So.
Right on. So how much of when you were creating your own group were you just really focused on branding? Because it seems like the strategy may have been, create a good brand and proliferate that around as much as I can. And whenever there's a job that, for lack of a better term, the shoveling up the last little bit of shit that no one wants to do, you were there, you were ready to come in, and you were willing to go 100% into it and just impress everybody who was involved in that project, and then get yourself to a position where you're not coming up to clean up messes anymore. You're the first call.
Yeah, so being new to the market, being kind of new to the industry, so to speak, I had to mask a lot of that lack of experience with just work ethic.
Yep.
So getting up earlier than anyone else, staying late than anyone else, and just good old fashioned work ethic, which it wasn't great on the marriage at that time, but we definitely worked through it.
Right.
And I would say that's really the kind of been in the DNA of DRG from day one, is just, and it's one of our core values, just how driven we are. And really a lot of things have changed. Again, we're celebrating our 10th year right now. We're older, we're married, we're kids, so we're really looking forward to that next generation of kind of agents coming into our market. So that we're excited about that.
Yeah, that is exciting. Right on. How many agents do you have now?
So on the buy-sell side, we have 10, and then on the leasing side, we have about 7. So from a residential brokerage standpoint, it's super, super small. But again, why we're successful just in our market is just because we focus.
Yeah.
So.
And one good agent can do the work of 20.
For sure.
20 other
full time, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
no question.
For sure.
No, that's one thing. When I started, back in 2007, part time, and then when Ryan and I got together and we decided to go full time in 2010, 2011, I knew of DRG, and that's one thing that I remember about it, is they were really focused. I immediately knew what they did and what they did well, and we deal with condos. We know that market the best. So, and I always knew that you guys were all, at first, just like we did, we kind of grew our business by being a property management company and catering for, the people that are wanting to just really, cash flow their condo versus sell because they couldn't. And that at that time, do you think, just like, it was true for VSM, that what got us over that period of people not buying or selling is third-party property management? And you mentioned there was a lot of condos that were just vacant, and you provided a service where it helped you grow your company, and also establish those relationships where they came back to you and said, hey, market has turned around, now I want to sell. How integral was beginning to have a really strong property management side?
Your question to how integral was the property management side, I would say specifically that was not integral, but just having the model of the three-legged stool. So one of the legs is the buy-sell division, the other leg is the leasing division, the other leg is the rentals management division. We prefer calling it rentals management because we're not doing the whole property. We're managing drywall, and that's a whole other story. So, we really based our business model off a P&L. Here's our expenses in column 1. Section 2 is all our passive income, and section 3 is the income that we produce as agents. So we try to create a model that really is sustainable. From the good times and the bad times. At the end of the day, you have to live somewhere. So there's nothing below renting. It's just a question: are you going to rent with us or not? And we had the model: if we give a customer good service and we keep in contact with them, that renter is our future buyer. And no different from that owner. If we give them great service, take care of them, when they want to sell, or the market corrects, kind of your point, Goran, is hopefully give us an opportunity to sell. So, throughout the last so many years, the kind of ebbs and flows on what's stronger, the buy-sell division. or the leasing division, what I always tell people, the biggest difference is the leasing division is a 100-yard dash every day. Yep. And the buy-sell division is more of a marathon. Yep. They're both very important. There's not...
And complementary.
Yes, very, very much so. We've had agents in the past, on the buy-sell side, kind of looking down to the leasing agents, like that's a starter position. But really, there's leasing agents that are making a great living. Yeah. And it's a real career. It's just, do you want to go more the buy-sell side, or do you want to go more of the leasing side? So we've been very fortunate to have a business model that does have focus, but does have a few different revenue streams. And in the rentals and management side of the business is really more a self-sustaining business model where it's another touch point with the owners and the renters and the vendors and the property managers that we kind of mask that as more marketing.
Got it.
So
yeah. So now it's 2017. We're recording this.
Yeah.
And the question that you get asked, I get asked, we all get asked more than pretty much anything else. Where do you think the market is headed right now?
I can only speak to the Minneapolis condo market, kind of common interest community CIC market. I think it's strong. I think from a resale perspective, I'll talk about the North Loop specifically. It's just gone up at a 45-degree angle. It's just been crazy. It's the insane. Fastest growing neighborhood in the whole town. But how long is that sustainable? Well, for me, it's when are they going to add new construction? Yeah. So to me, I'm telling consumers, when you start seeing cranes in new owner-occupied buildings, that's when, hey, you might want to look at options or staying kind of the long haul. So that's, to me, a big indicator there. Number two, we're in an election season. Literally today, I got my I voted sticker on today. So our council member who's done some great things is running for mayor. But I think the important seat is our third ward council member. Okay. So to see what that person's going to bring to the table, we've got challenges of kind of parking and that, but I don't want to get in the weeds there. But I think for the next 10 years, I don't really pay attention to kind of the market. I don't pay attention to kind of the things that I can't control. Yeah. And this might seem cliche, but at the end of the day, I focus on what I can focus on. It's my activities. Yeah. And it's the agent's activities. How many calls are you making? Right. How many break breads are you, with your clients and your past clients and your vendors and your, we're in the relationship business, and I think at the end of the day, if you focus on doing those, what I call money-making activities, and don't get caught up on all the flashy, we're doing a cool podcast today, but, he's over here social mediaing it up and all that stuff. But at the end of the day,
I have to give the people what they want.
But at the end of the day, these things are important, but never as important is making the phone calls and all that stuff. So, my prediction, for the future, I think it's going to stay strong in the Minneapolis market. We've got a long ways to go in regards to becoming more of a pro development city. It's very hard to get projects going, and that's a whole nother topic of discussion. But if we had a brochure for the city of Minneapolis and kind of the residential lifestyle, I think our brochure would never look better. I really feel that way. And you're talking to a guy that's only been here for 17 years. Yeah. So I don't have the whole what Minneapolis or even St. Paul, what it's been 20, 30, 40 years ago. I just don't have that. I just see when I first came in here in 2000 to what I see today, and it's bright.
Yeah, so, it's definitely been. I'm always amazed because we were speaking, I think, a little bit earlier off the record here, but I was alluding to the fact that I live in South Minneapolis right now, and just the improvements that I've seen and the valuation.
Sure.
I bought a building for $180,000 last year.
Congrats.
It's worth like $300 now.
Yeah.
I stuck 30 into it. But
for what you guys have going on and your diversity of kind of the investment side and the property management side and your services, for your listeners, if somebody's interested in kind of the Minneapolis market, there's a lot of great opportunities out there. Yeah. And one of them is, and I know we're going to talk about kind of the Airbnb model. I get those calls every day.
Especially now with the Super Bowl.
Oh my,
people,
for sure.
Clients probably, is that a good
everybody
engagement?
Star Tribune's calling, past clients are calling, buildings are calling, HOA boards are calling, everyone's calling.
Right on. So let's dive right into it then. What are the calls that you're receiving? What are people asking you? What's the populace feeling about these Airbnbs?
Can I get $50,000 for my home? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants to know. How much can I rent my place out for? So to back up, no one in our market's done this before.
Right.
So we don't know what we don't know. So, we at DRG, we called out to San Francisco. We called down to Houston and try to network with some of the people that were involved in it. And we took the position, called about a year ago, and put together a program to help these homeowners and really to help these buildings.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we thought we could do about 300 of them. And the short-term cash was really great. But the reason why we wanted to get into Super Bowl rentals was the relationships.
Right.
So those homeowners that were going to go somewhere or and want us to rent it out, we wanted to get to know them and put them in our database, invite them to happy hours, and market to them so when they wanted to sell someday. So long term, that's why we wanted to get in it. But we felt just logistically. So if we did 300 rentals the day or two after the Super Bowl, we'd have to do 300 walkthroughs.
Right.
We just don't have the manpower to do that. And we didn't want to be the company that F's up the Super Bowl rentals. And the reality of it is it just wasn't worth it from a whole business models perspective. But we have taken the position we will do some Super Bowl rentals. The building has to allow it with their rules and regs and so on. And we've got a specific program, and it's kind of take it or leave it. So we feel the floodgates will open up after the AFC NFC championship game. I mean, all the hotels are already full from a corporate perspective, but when the teams are announced, that's when the floodgates will really, that's when it'll really open. So we're prepared. We'll be ready. But the most common question is, what can I get for my home? And my honest answer to them is, how nice is it? How close is it to the stadium?
Right.
The ones that are really close, they're getting anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 a night per bedroom. Wow. So it's up there. It's definitely up there. But it's going to be fun. So
that's a question that I got asked too as well. Friends and family and customers as well about, hey, what are you going to do for the Super Bowl? Are you going to rent? And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to F it up.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be high velocity, a lot of logistical nightmares, and I don't want to. I'm not in it for the short term gain. Yeah. For me, real estate has always been a lifelong play. So that's kind of like I haven't really ventured into that world where I definitely would like to, have the opportunity to be able to capture some of that income, especially the influx of people. I don't know, what are they saying, like an extra million people?
Yeah, I think take the Super Bowl out. I think the whole Airbnb model, and I think I saw you guys just did. I think it was you did a really fun.
I'll hear your thoughts. I'll share ours.
Yeah. So. Well, in our bubble, in the Minneapolis condo market, our rules and regs don't allow the short term. So just from an education standpoint, a lot of realtors, a lot of consumers don't even know that if you were to rent out your home, your condo, it has to be a minimum of 6 months or 12 months plus. Yeah. So right there, you can't do it.
Yeah, most of the exclusive condos.
Yeah, so really it's more for kind of the single family homes. I'm pro if you've got a home and you don't care about football and you want to go on a vacation or something, you'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
It's just from a business model, I think it's more, you have to take the Super Bowl, you have to take the Final Four, all of that out. And I'd love to explore it someday, designing a building that put in the covenants, put in the declarations where you could actually do this. Because the reality, and I feel the Super Bowl and the Final Four is just a tipping point, kind of a tipping of the service, or kind of, what am I trying to say, kind of the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
With this whole sharing model. Because, you share cars. I've got a car literally that I share and I rent out right now.
Right.
So, it's everything now. And these buildings that are still stuck back in the 90s and 80s and 70s,
with the typical association covenants.
It's boilerplate, templated stuff. There's going to be so much pressure from these homeowners that if I'm a snowbird or I'm traveling and I want to just get some extra revenue for my home, well, let's take a step back and be thoughtful about that approach, and let's put together a program where there's processes and procedures and checks and balances. and figure out a way to make it a win-win for everybody. I think that's going to be the future of kind of the Airbnb kind of VRBO model. And I'd love to see some of these buildings, some of these management companies really take a hard look at that and concede through a thoughtful model that's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and just figuring out ways, because I think that's the main complaint that people have with HOAs is that they're restrictive. But you understand they need to be restrictive.
Yeah,
there's also
it's a fine line.
Who like it for that too.
Exactly.
So, figuring out, and branding specific buildings for specific uses makes a lot of sense, and it's something I can't believe no one's tried.
Yeah, well, let's do it.
Yeah, and you can't just, hey, we're going to build a building, and then for the sole purpose of Airbnb, then you're like, hey, welcome your hotel.
Exactly.
So you have to find that fine line. I think there is a place where the homeowner kind of essentially needs to be protected against themselves or the certain situations they may be in financially, where they're just like, hey, I'll lease it to whomever, affecting everybody else's use. So just like there are management companies that manage associations, there could be another third party that manages that aspect. You just have to allow that in the covenants of the association, have that ability. Because I think there's a huge need. And I tell a lot of people that ask me, hey, are you on the board? You guys have the power and the votes to change your bylaws and put things in place. So I think a lot of homeowners are just not aware that they actually have the power to vote things into action. I think it would be a win-win for everybody with certain things in place. It would be no different, and it's not going away. Just like if I ask you, is Uber going away?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely not. Airbnb is not going away. You can fight against it, and it'll be bad for you and everyone else.
Ask the taxi industry.
Right. Yeah. Or you can accept it and embrace it and be the pioneer and the leader in the industry and reap the benefits.
Yeah, both the taxi industry and the hospitality industry are lobbying very, very hard against the democratization of these services and through technology.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, that's like with anything that there's initially no one likes it. The change, there's financial aspect of it, but ultimately it still pushes through because the people really decide what the market trend is going to be, and
it benefits the people that can matter. They have the most voice. It benefits the middle class. It benefits people who are in the lower class the ability to move upwards and because there's just tons of opportunities where if you can get into an Airbnb as a rental, say, and manage it for some sort of profit over what you're paying rent, which is a model that a lot of people are using. Now you kind of can generate your own business without a huge cash outlay.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have that knowledge or skill set to create passive income, and this is an opportunity that's just staring them right in the face. And I think from a safety standpoint, if you have an Airbnb, if you're out of the cities, I think it's a lot more of a safer bet because they're not. You mentioned they don't have to deal with the hotels, that lobby piece. So if you've got something out on Lake Minnetonka or something in South Minneapolis potentially or Bloomington, I think it's a lot more of a safe bet.
Yeah,
for the long term.
I heard, I don't know, this is just a rumor. Is it true that there are actually builders there now around the U.S. Bank Stadium? They're building for the sole purpose of the Super Bowl?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because that's what I was like. That would
great
be
marketing.
That would be crazy. Yeah. I mean, they're just thinking that one day they're going to bank on it, make a bunch of money, and then lease it out, and then maybe flip it. But there is just a significant amount of construction in that area, and I grew up in the Southeast, so I know what it kind of used to look like. Back 10, 15, 20 years ago. But now it's just like all these skyscrapers are going up. I mean, what are you seeing from that trend over there, for example?
Yeah, really, 75% of the growth in Minneapolis has been in the third ward. So that's the North Loop, the Mill District, kind of St. Anthony, Maine, kind of southeast, northeast. Yep. So that's where really the growth. And you really look at what's the common theme. It's really the river. The stadium is great, but no different than Target Field. At the end of the day, nobody wants to live right next to a stadium.
Yep.
They want the spill off of the stadium, the bars, the restaurants, the services and transit and things like that. But nobody wants to live right next to the stadium. But really what you're seeing right now is the city taking a hard stance against parking lots. And so we're really pushing those landowners to sell off those kind of eyesore. But a lot of it's just been multifamily. And from a Joe consumer that doesn't really in the business, they really feel that those are condos.
Right.
I mean, I read some of the posts on social media, and so many more condos, and stop building all these condos, but they're not owner occupied.
Right.
And we need a healthier mix of owner occupied into the marketplace, especially if we want to hit our 25 goals and double our population downtown. So we've seen a nice increase, but it's really come from the multifamily market, and that's just really the high level cyclical market. So we had the big condo boom, and then market correction, mortgage meltdown, and then it went to the multifamily. A lot of those developers left the owner-occupied development model, and it's just a lot easier to do the rentals.
You mentioned the city as far as the eyesore of a parking ramp or whatnot. What type of pushback does the city of Minneapolis have, if any, of all, a lot of residential buildings going up? I know here in St. Paul, just take the Ecolab building, for example. There were, 1,000 people that wanted to convert that into a condo building, but the city was like, hey, we're going to show a little bit more of favoritism to somebody that wants to put an office building or contribute more to the economy via like small, local, or even corporate business outside of town. That's kind of the big push. They want to slow down on the residential builds around here in order to ignite the economy from a business perspective. I know it's a little bit different in Minneapolis because there already are, but do you see that?
I obviously I can't speak to really St. Paul, but Minneapolis has a great kind of white collar business market. Especially the CBD, kind of the Skyway area. Which the reality is, no one really lives down there, and everybody lives in kind of outskirts, urban neighborhoods, and that's again really where our focus is. But really, what the city is looking for is kind of that walkability. That you don't have those gaps where it goes, a building with maybe no retail, no services, and there's 2 blocks of parking lots, and then there's maybe a new building going up. They want that consistency.
Right, like New York.
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's just, people don't even know what they don't know in regards to kind of urban planning, but you just walk to a city or walk to a great neighborhood in Portland, and it just feels great. Well, why? People are living or working up top, and people are sitting outside at a cafe, or they're going into a UPS or just going into a mom and pop store. It naturally feels really good.
Yeah.
So I think the city is really taking a stance to really create that. It does bring up other challenges in regards to parking, and I don't know if they'll ever solve that. But it's a big bike community, which is great. But we get pushbacks that we're killing lanes to add bike paths, and the whole car share.
We have a bike path. There was a construction for a year. There's a bike path. I see maybe a bike once a week there.
So that's that's again a whole nother podcast there. But the whole kind of car sharing and the whole parking, that does, the city obviously would like a lot less. Their ratio, we still want 1 parking spot per bedroom. Like if we were to build a building, that would be the perfect ratio. Yep. The city would like less. The city feels that we're going to go to kind of a 1-car household or a lot more sharing faster, or the automated cars a lot sooner, which it's definitely coming. Right. There's a lot of momentum, but if a developer is going to spend $100 million or $50 million on a project, they're not going to hedge their bets on a ratio of parking, because parking's kill or make deals.
I think it's a big deal, especially. Even if you're like a single couple, you'll still have two vehicles, and even if you move downtown because your work is there, you still want to be mobile, whether it be a car that you rent or use. There'll still be a need. If you see any population, in like India or China, as it rises, so does the car. and you get more traffic jams, like in California and stuff. So
yeah, parking's a huge issue. I mean, if you live down there right now, 9 times out of 10 you have parking, and it's not that big a deal. Most buildings have guest parking. It's just the stereotype that urban cities that I can never park anywhere. I mean, it's just not true. But I will be honest, and coming down the North Loop, it is harder. I mean, when we met at Free House that time, you
construction.
Luckily you pulled up in your nice car in the valet parking, so you were taken care of there. But it's a lot harder.
I remember that particular restaurant that had a huge open parking lot, and I'm like, oh, what the hell? What are they building there, by the way?
Office building. Some apartments, but mainly an office building there.
Oh, so will there be parking then for the restaurant?
So facing Washington's going to be, I think it's 8 stories of office, first floor retail services restaurant.
Yeah.
Behind it, it's going to be a parking ramp.
Yeah.
Wrapped in small kind of nano micro apartments, just to kind of wrap the parking ramps, because the city doesn't want to see the eyesore so-called parking ramps.
Got it.
No, so big project by United Properties. Huge.
Minneapolis is definitely a challenge for parking. I have a big truck, and I can tell you that I was meeting with my accountant and going to CLA and trying to park in their ramp.
Sure.
Made it about halfway down, and then I was like, oh, my truck's not going to fit. So I had to back up probably 15, 20 people, got them backing up onto the light rail tracks and stuff for me.
That's a nightmare. See, that's where you should have Ubered. Should have Ubered down.
Should have Ubered. Yeah.
I mean, I think once you get used to it, back many years ago, I used to work downtown in IDS, and luckily I had parking there provided. But as long as you are not new, that you're able to find a parking spot. I think when people come here, they're like, oh, where do I park? Cities. Did you have issues coming here and parking? I know every single person that comes here is not familiar with St. Paul. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I'm laughing because I hate parking in ramps. I hate parking in ramps. So I passed your building and parked over by the park and started typing in my nice parking app. I'm like, oh wait,
different app.
This is Minneapolis, not St. Paul. And I was on the phone, so I'm like, Emily, so we made it work. But yeah, it was a kind of a funny joke, kind of freezing our ass off walking over here. But the sun was out. But I've got a question for you guys, because you guys are big into kind of social media, just really great at self-promotion in a really good way, humble way. What do you hear? And also you focus on the investment side. It's a big piece of your business. We have a leasing division, as we've talked about, and we work with a lot of investors that can come in and look through our portfolio and literally buy condos that are already rented out. Talk to me about kind of your investors or your clients out there, what their perception is of the Minneapolis kind of condo market from an investment.
So specifically, getting phone calls from people that we haven't been working with in the past, just inquiring what their impressions are of the Minneapolis condo market. They don't ask specifically about Minneapolis. I think that they tend to ask, they're more focused on condos, townhouses in general, with the idea being that they're just going to be a lot less management intensive for them. But realistically, it's not too advantageous if you're hiring a management company to take care of most of those things anyway. So from that point, I think that's really the strength in those particular investments that they see, versus going into something single family, multifamily, etc. So I feel like the majority of the phone calls that I get, they don't have a ton of specific knowledge of what they're looking for.
So geographically, really isn't on their radar.
Yeah, they just know that Twin Cities has all these medical companies here. And they know that it's a growth market, so they're definitely intrigued by it. But I think, their focus on those assets are simply based on, in their mind, that there's less that they're going to have to take care of, and that they'll have less exposure.
Is that typically more like a first-time investor feels it's easier to get in kind of the condo townhome market?
So.
That makes sense.
Let's call them like first to fifth investment.
They're not ready to go to the sixplex or the small apartment building.
Exactly. So it's
putting together a portfolio or something.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it's a decent amount of people who are like, hey, I own one property in Cincinnati and I own one in Jacksonville, Florida, and now I want one in Minnesota because it seems like these are growth markets that I should be hitting. So they kind of arrive there in all different ways.
Makes sense.
And then it's just having that conversation and setting expectations. So my question then is, if you got a phone call like that, what type of condos would you be looking at specifically? Where would you be encouraging people to invest? And how much is it then appreciation versus cash flow?
Well, it would first start with and hopefully we could get them into the office. It starts with a good old-fashioned needs analysis, which I think is a very, very important piece, because if somebody's really serious, they're going to come in and really, hey, let's do the meet and greet and make sure it's a good fit. So I really start there. And then I really try to break down from an investor standpoint, because I've worked with many over the years, and I try to really categorize them like this. There's an investor that I don't care where it is, what it looks like, just show me the return. Right? You've dealt with those.
Yeah.
And there's other ones that, well, I'm in it for the money, but emotionally, I have to like it as well, too.
Yeah.
And then the last one is, if I make a little bit of money, if I just break even, great, but I want to move into it in the future.
Right.
So I would put them in 3 different categories. And then based off what category I feel they're a good fit is then I take them down that specific path.
Got it.
And based on their budget.
Right.
So it's really from there what their risk tolerance is and what their budget is, and they hand them over to our lender. And I saw Leader One brochure out there. That's our preferred lender and in-house as well too. But
nice.
Just kind of sitting down with them and really mapping it out. I would say probably half of our investors are just people who've never done it before. So they're really intrigued when they learn about 62% of all the sales that we did last year at DRG were off the market. And that was because, you, the consumer, came in and said, hey, I was looking through MLS and didn't find anything. Well, we have this whole database of homes that we've worked with these owners over the last 10, 12 years and can go, well, that one fits what you're looking for, and that one, and really do a lot of off-market transactions.
And then just reach out and say, hey, you interested in selling someone?
Yeah, either yes or no, and it's no big deal. We'll just move on to the next one. Nice. So it's a really soft approach. The buyers like it because they're not in a potential kind of multiple offer scenario. So there's just pros and cons to both parties, but that's a way that we've been able to kind of stand out in the investment side too. And just being market experts in that area, if we have an investor come into our office, we can also have them meet with the leasing division, and then they can really comp out what things would rent out for and show them 10 years of numbers, and they can go upstairs and talk to our rentals manager coordinator just to what's the day in a life of owning an investment property. So it's a good model. It works.
That's great. I like that you had your 3 categories. I think about 95% of our people were in that first category of people who are just like, show me a return. I don't want to see it. And the tough thing that I always find is, like I had a couple guys call me and they're like, hey, we have $1 million cash that we want to spend. If this goes well, we'll really up it then. We can take it from there. We live in Israel. We'll never be able to meet. I'm like, okay. Let's try and figure out how to work together here.
That needs analysis is a little different.
It's more of a challenge for me, because I think I'm like you. I think most of us in this industry like to sit down, talk to people.
Because at the end of the day, we want to be in relationships. And you break bread and you forge really good relationships when you're meeting face to face, or you're having coffee or having lunch with somebody. So
I think that you, for example, Daniel, have maybe a different customer base than I do, and it depends kind of where we're at. But you mentioned it, Joe, as far as being having a really good relationship, because we've had customers that we've had since day one who've gone through all these different changes. They only wanted one property, but now they have like multiple. They're maybe looking to sell, and they're looking to sell off market, quick and easy to somebody else. So there's a wide variety of customers that we have, but also from my perspective, I have to kind of, while I do want to get the business, if it's not the right fit, then I would either pass it on to somebody that I know, or internally or externally, doesn't matter. But I think now, since real estate's so hot, it's very difficult to get kind of a retail investor, somebody that that's watched HGTV, and he's like, hey, I want to buy something for $300,000 and I want to get a really good return. Mm-hmm. And my next follow-up question is, okay, after that one, where do you see yourself? And I really need to hear back that this is like a long-term, 10 plus units.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the one is really not gonna make that much of a.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's not gonna make much difference from my perspective to work with somebody. But at the same time, I think you have to really coach or teach the person kind of what the 5-year plan looks like and how it's in their benefit. You have a couple of really good clients that started with one, and the first one was the longest and the hardest, and you didn't think it was going to go anywhere else. But then now it's just like, hey, I'm ready to buy another one. Just go find it, and then you're like, yep, no problem. Boom, boom, boom. It's in that portfolio.
Yeah, I think. Well, we can all agree that the consumers today, whether they are a lot more educated because of all the DIY and the HGTV stuff. I mean, they are more educated, more interested in real estate, but also they still don't know what they don't know. And I think one of the things that you guys are good at is just selling that dream.
Yep.
You've got them, that carrot's out there. They're in your office. They're on the phone. They're talking to you guys. They're interested in one. Well, why not 10? They might not just know how to get to 10. And I think surrounding yourself with the right people and having the right relationships, but at the end of the day, looking out for their best interest, if that comes across genuine, they'll get to 10, without you kind of forcing them down that path.
My initial meeting with people is, if they're new, if they're experienced, is I say that the first thing that I need to do is learn a little bit about what you're looking for, of course. But then once we've established a goal, it's going to be a lot of education on my part, because I'm going to have to bring you up to speed on the market and the way that we look at and analyze deals, so you can make a determination if we'd be a good fit.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to communicate in a shorthand with them. I want to be able to talk to them, maybe not as, they won't be as astute or as experienced as Goran, but I want to be able to create somewhat of a similar experience so that they can look at deals, analyze them, and confirm for themselves that this deal does indeed make sense. It will push me closer to my goal. So they feel really informed. But I have to let them know, to be honest, on the first deal, I'm probably losing money on this because of the amount of time I'm going to put into it up front. So hopefully we can put together a long-term plan.
One of our big deals is, really we kind of conduct business based on being, transparent with, everyone here and our customers. And one part of that is how do I convey that information 24/7, and how do my customers get a hold of this information whenever they want. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons we do podcasts, the reasons we do vlog, why we do social media. The customers that we don't even know that we're going to have are listening or watching or browsing through social media in order to understand who we are. And just by this podcast, they'll be like, okay, now I know who Joe is and who DRG is, and what they're saying, maybe I want to do business with. And that's kind of the approach that we're trying to take, kind of the, hey, here's what we're about. If that fits your mold, then maybe we can do business. And it doesn't have to necessarily be with us. It could be with you. There's a different set of clients. That's why I think it's important that, going back to what you said, you focused on a goal of what you wanted to accomplish when you started DRG, and it wasn't single family homes. It was it was a condo market, and that's kind of what we want to focus on as well. Is know who we are and what we want to do, and attract that type of customer, just because that's going to be the best and the most the most profitable in the long term relationship.
And you enjoy it,
right?
And you enjoy it. So it was the fun factor,
right? Yeah, I'm sure that's something we didn't really address too. I'm sure you like working in that market too. There's got to be that component.
Well, a lot of people come to me and said, God, you guys, how'd you find that office? And you get so lucky, and or you're so smart. Yeah. I mean, just a lot of it just fell into place. But just knowing that I wanted to be kind of in that urban market, but I can't. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it is fun. It is fun being there. I mean, I remember the days when we had two options, Cuzzies and Bunkers for lunch. Now we have some of the best restaurants in town, and I got Emily back here, our great transaction coordinator, and we go on walking meetings and just go kind of walk around the block and just really take advantage of the neighborhood, because at the end of the day, what we do at DRG is sell the lifestyle. And I tell people, the home's the home. We can find you a home in Duluth or Bloomington or Burnsville or St. Paul, but why here? And that's an important piece that we try to get across, and really for the customer to understand that there's a feeling I want to live in a condo or downtown, but why? When you come home from work on a Wednesday night or you wake up on a Saturday, what the hell do you want to do? And that really will then drive or tell us where to drive them and take them.
Yeah, if you can have fun in the city, why would your client expect you to?
Exactly.
That makes absolute sense.
Yeah. Right. We're not rocket scientists.
We're definitely not. No.
Right no, I think you were going to mention, I think he had asked you regarding just going back to the Airbnb deal. You asked for his thoughts and what your thoughts were.
Yeah, so what you're looking at doing is, and I think it's, because I don't know how you were trying to structure your management fees. That's kind of the issue, because it's so intensive.
Yeah.
Is it worth the return and the risk and the liability that you're taking on for it as well? So my thought was pretty simple, is we have all these investor clients who want to place money somewhere in the Twin Cities. And there's all of these landlord Airbnb operators, people who are renting a place or bought a place just for that purpose. It's like they're looking to find landlords who have rental properties that have been sitting on the market for a month, 2 months, whatever the case may be, and be like, hey, why don't you instead try renting to me? I'll come in, take over everything. You don't have to worry about management, and I'm going to operate my business out of here, and I'll make a double security deposit or whatever it is to make them feel secure. It's like, why not do that by design instead? So the idea becomes, if you as an Airbnb operator get to select any property that you want that's for sale on the market to operate your Airbnb out of versus just the straggler rentals, if you will, it's going to give you a lot more opportunity, I believe. It's going to allow you to scale your business if you're getting to select all of these without having to pay for it. Much, much faster. And for the investor, the deal's great for them because they get to come in, purchase a property, and we want to lock it.
Safe bet for them.
Yeah, at like an 8-9 cap. So in most instances, that's going to be an above market return, and they don't have any management that they really need to worry about. So it's kind of pairing these two together, and great benefit for the investor because they're getting an above market deal. Great benefit for the Airbnb operator because they're getting to select any property that they want to rent, as long as it works for everybody.
Yeah, from the surface standpoint, seems great for the landlords. Just set it and forget it. Totally. I think it's for the 4 seconds you just told me about it, it seems like a viable opportunity. I think there's a lot of education up front, and then I think the key would just be scaling it because it's a lot of work. Yes. It is a lot of work, but that's what people said to us. Your average realtor said, I don't want to deal with rentals. It's just a lot of work for $1,500. Well, if you're doing 50 of them a month, then it's scalable. So
here's the one distinction is there's a lot of properties. So like we were looking at one where we were gonna hopefully pick it up for $150. And the per night on it was gonna be about $150. So pretty conservatively, if you're figuring 20 nights a month, that you're going to be able to get that occupied, that's $3,000 in gross rental income. So there's plenty of room for, I buy this property and I rent it to Goran for $1,500 a month, which is an above market rate, I would say. And he's operating it, and he just makes everything above that $1,500. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's going to really, I think, get you someone who's actually going to really care about your property and take care of it on the Airbnb side.
Yeah, which is why we're looking for people who want to be the owner-operators, because I think from a, just logistical perspective, you can't do like 100 of these. I think, one person or a couple can operate maybe up to 10, right? As far as move-ins, move-outs. Cleaning, coordinating, all that stuff, which, great. If they can do 10, you move on to the next and next, and everybody kind of, on 10 properties, let's say they're making, $1,000 a property, $10K a month. is a great income.
Sure.
If you just want to stay at home and
For sure.
Just that would be your main deal. I think a lot of people would take us up on that.
So you're
offer.
looking for those people that want to have those portfolios of 5 or 10 or 20 to really take this on?
For now,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. You guys don't want to do that?
The eventuality is, yes, maybe at some point
You
we'll
start a
set up the
division.
infrastructure into it.
Because right now we thought about applying infrastructure to the management, but from a numbers perspective, I know it's going to be pretty ridiculous.
So you're really just looking for somebody that has good common sense, good work ethic. They're loyal. They're experienced. Yeah, they're or coachable.
Coachable,
or open to learn about it, and you can trust them. I think that would work. I really do.
That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
And we're, I put my first social media advertisement out there.
I saw that. It was good.
Thank you. I put no contact info on it on purpose just to see who would actually track me down.
How'd that go?
Good. Got 2 or 3 people who just kind of circumvented everything and found my personal cell phone number and email.
Very resourceful. You want that. Yeah.
But that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I need from somebody.
Exactly.
So, I'm really excited to roll this out and hopefully it grows and turns into something.
Well, maybe there's a way as we progress our business relationship, some things that we could do in the Minneapolis market because
that's what I was hoping.
Yeah, for sure. So I think. For me, it's just time. Yep. So to carve out some time to really think through the model. But it sounds like you guys already have a kind of a model in mind, and love to see how we could dovetail on that.
Yeah, Daniel is taking kind of the lead on this project, but from kind of what I'm seeing that he's producing, I think that we have the people that want to buy these bundles of, let's say, 5-10 properties, investors, and then
long-term leases.
Now the owner operators in town, they're there. We just got to really make sure that hey, the economics behind the business works, and that people do want to rent, and we have
the variable that needs to be proven for sure.
Yeah.
That there's enough delta between what they're renting it for and what the profit is.
For me, I think we'd be a good fit. I mean, if there's a building in Minneapolis that isn't associated with an association that has all those rules, and it could be converted to some residential.
We're looking at one today, right?
And the nice thing about that is we're not so parking driven on something like that.
Right.
And I think that's a key piece for everyone to understand is if they're just a standalone building. I mean, if it was close to transit, light rail, or bus line, or just you could park on the street. I think for those Airbnb transit people, 1 night, 2 night, 3 nights, it'd be perfect. So I think there's a real model there.
Great.
Yeah, I definitely keep you posted. And you guys already have your information, so we'll see where that leads. So
great. Well, Joe, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome to hear about how
very
you
insightful.
The company. Yeah,
I appreciate it.
And we see you everywhere, so now it's good that I think everyone in the cities gets to associate and maybe get a little bit more FaceTime with you through the social media aspect.
Well, I got to thank Emily back here for introducing me to Goran, and
thank you, Emily.
It's been fun to see you guys on social media. I'm gonna take this podcast thing and take it back to Minneapolis. We're going to start this next year. So,
fantastic.
I was kidding, but no, maybe I am serious.
You should. No, that's the thing. I think a lot of people come here. They're like, there's nothing. I mean, I want people to do the same thing that we do because I think we just kind of connected as far as the Airbnb. There's a business opportunity there, and it was produced because of that. So I think the more people are open with sharing information, there's going to be much bigger business opportunity. So
well, thank you guys for the invite. So hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah. So well, I think the next one is the vlog from here to your guys' office.
That'd be fun.
And then the next one will be on your podcast.
There you go. There you go. Full circle. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you guys next time.